My name is Jairo Orden, and I was the writer of The Blind Date, one of the producers, and I played the role of Ryan.
Well, my name is Bratton, and I got to play one of the lead characters, Kenzie.
My name is Hayakawa. I was the Blind Date's director.
My name is Meggie Cross, and I was one of the producers on The Blind Date.
My name is Katie Turner, and on the set of The Blind Date, I was a script supervisor.
So Jairo had sent me the script a couple months before anything had really begun taking place. I read the script, I loved it, I thought it was really funny, and then Jairo asked me if I would be willing to direct it for him.
Well, Jairo reached out to me in October. We were working on some project, and I mentioned I wanted to be a producer. And he was like, oh, I'm working on something, like, do you want to be like a PA on it or something? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. And then I had one meeting with him, and then he texted me that night. He was like, so I was talking to Kai, and we're actually gonna just have you be producer. And I was like, all right.
So I didn't really have a role in the creation of The Blind Date, but I was a super fan from the minute that Jairo showed me the script. Like, it was just a dry read. I was on set for another shoot, and I'm in the dressing room, bored out of my mind, and then Jairo's like, hey, I got the script, you should read it. And I was like, okay, what the heck is this? And then I read it, and I laughed so many times. I was like, I didn't even have to finish it before I knew he had to film that.
Basically how the entire thing came to be is I was stuck at an airport in Ontario, California for 8 hours, and I had nothing better to do. So I had that premise written down in my notes, and I just thought it'd be fun to write something. So that's how the first draft was written.
And they were looking for someone who was visually impaired, so I was kind of just like shooting my shot, hoping it'll work out. So I sent him an email, and I was like, hey, I really respect that you want to find someone who is visually impaired, like, so I'm just throwing it out there that if at some point you decide to look for, look outside of that realm, I would love to come audition. And then I came in for the audition, waited a couple days, found out I got it, and then I was super excited to get to work on it. And then I watched a bunch of YouTube videos of Molly Burke, who is blind, and so it's just like cool to see how she, talks to people and lives her life. So yeah, that was kind of my prep and then the process.
In Ontario International Airport on October 11th, 2021.
I didn't expect set to be so laid back.
To go as well as it did.
To be as much fun.
To go as smoothly as possible.
We just kicked pre-production out of the park. We got through, how many pages did we get through in a day? 11? 15 pages of dialogue in a couple of hours.
I'm specifically thinking about the bathroom scene in the film. It was just probably the most fun I've had filming anything. The crew was awesome. I was just surrounded by people I was comfortable with, people who are really fun and really passionate about the project, so.
Yeah, the entire shoot was pretty nice. I think the only issue we had was on the first day, I used a different notebook and pencil in every single take and didn't catch it until the end of the day. But it still turned out pretty good. I'm sorry.
Maggie's looking at me over there. She's my favorite person to work with.
Jairo.
I have to say Jairo, just because it was an interesting dynamic with him both being the kind of creator of this idea. He was the one who wrote it, and he was also the one I was directing and acting in it. So he understood his character more than I did, but I was also directing him on how to kind of portray that character that he wants to get across to the audience. So that was a very fun dynamic, and this was kind of our first big project together, so it was very fun getting to know him better across that.
Working with Rachel was completely different than working with everybody else, because working with everybody on The Blind Date, it was like from a production aspect, whereas every time Rachel and I met up during the pre-production stage, it was specifically for acting, and so that I could communicate the character that I wanted portrayed to her. And just the entire, Rachel's a great actress. The fact that we got her is, I feel I'm very lucky and very thankful that we were. So just the entire time, when she would deliver a line exactly how I'd imagine it when I wrote it, inside I was just like, yes, thank you.
He just really was so patient with me in working with all of the different things that we needed to figure out. So that was really kind of him. And it was also fun working with Katie because we've worked on another set together, and she's just a super fun, and I don't know, I feel like we have a lot in common, so it was good talking to her more and getting to know her better as script soupy. So
I don't want to say it just because Maggie's looking at me, but seriously, like working with Meggie was the best. Like she's a dynamite powerhouse, and without Meggie showing me the ropes, I don't think I would have had the confidence to actually step in and be supervisor for Jairo, because I wanted to be the best I could be. But Meggie made it possible for that to be really seamless because of the work she did in the beginning and on set.
I feel bad not saying Katie. Katie was awesome to work with, but honestly, I just have to go Jairo. It was like a two-person team on like more the logistics side just to get everything ready up to filming, and he just made it so easy. And then for him to have the mentality to write up a script and want to produce this and film it just so other film students, his peers, could be on a set and have something to put on their demo reel or their portfolio was just amazing to work with a guy like that.
Probably the water, the scene where Ryan chokes
to be honest. Are you okay?
on his water, because that was like the elephant in the room, basically, and we knew we only had like maybe 1 or 2 possible takes because we only had 2 shirts for me to wear, and it could not have gone better, but it also was terrible because I started actually drinking the water when we were rolling, and then when I was supposed to choke, it all came out all over the table.
My favorite part of the blind date was when we were filming the bathroom scenes because I could not stop laughing. I would have to slate and then hide under the sink without hitting my head on the towel dispenser. And I was 6 feet from Jairo when he's like bouncing like a little girl on the phone with Adam, and I laughed so easily. So the fact that I had to hold all that in and I was really proud of myself, and I was proud of the performance that Jairo gave, and I think it turned out awesome.
I'd say the scope of the project was probably the most exciting part. I have never done something where we've had that big of a crew in, you know, a space that we've kind of like asked for permission for and had to kind of get approval for. It was a new experience, so that was probably the most fun.
I think my favorite part was that it was kind of a challenge for me. And so now I have that experience to look back on and be like, okay, here's ways that I can improve in the future, and just ways to kind of develop a character that does have maybe completely different mannerisms than I do, or at least, you know, the biggest one is sight. And so just working on figuring out how to make that believable and real was a challenge, but I really appreciated that. So.
Oh yeah, and to add on to that, that's probably one of my favorite memories of working on the blind date is the first take of that scene. I messed up my line right before the water, so I turned to the camera like, oh, can we do that again? And everybody has their phones out just on me.
Absolutely. I had never produced before. This is my first time on like a real set. I learned about what not to do, but again, every single day we were ahead of a schedule, which I think a big part of that was communication. So I think the biggest part for me that I learned is just like communication is key. If one person doesn't know what's happening, then it's just a domino effect. No one else knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I learned a lot from working on the blind date. I learned how important communication is, how like planning. I cannot stress planning more. It takes so much time to plan this stuff out.
Absolutely. I learned so much about just the filmmaking process just because every time I'm on set with people who know what they're doing, I feel like I know what I'm doing, and so I become a lot more confident. And that was the first time I had become an official script soupy. So I learned more about my role, just what that involves and how to annotate and how to give the editor what he needs.
I think I learned a lot about how much work it takes to coordinate with that many people. You know, when I shot the first Midnight Man, it was literally just me and my roommate. So coordinating schedules was not hard, finding locations was not hard, but kind of seeing the other end of that spectrum where you're scrambling to find the right location at the right time where everyone can meet up at the same place at the same time. Like it was eye-opening really to see that much pre-production all come together.
Probably just the log line. Like it's a blind date, but the date's actually blind.
I literally just say the log line. That's it. Like that's how you know it's a good log line. I'm like, hey, there's this film about someone going on a blind date, but she's actually blind, and they're like, that sounds awesome, and then that's it. I don't have to say anything else.
I guess what I would say about it is it's funny and it's relatable. So I think the humor is very spot on in this film, and I think what makes it even funnier is that having a bad first date is a very relatable experience, and I think being able to laugh about an experience like that just makes it that much better.
I would say it is fun and it's cute, and there's a really sweet moment at the end that is just adorable.
I've heard some conflicting things.
Yes, she's a method actor, so she struck herself blind just for the blind date set.
No. No, Rachel, the actress, was not actually blind, but she did a fantastic job. I remember when I went home a couple weeks after the blind date had come out, almost every single person in my family asked me, like, was she actually blind?
You will not, like, I had so many people ask that. She's not blind, she's just an incredible actor.
No, she was. I'm not.
Yes, big thank you to Mercedes Worsfold. She was the events coordinator at the GCU golf course who was able to give us the restaurant for 2 nights. Huge thanks to cast and crew who came to set every day, ready to work hard, just made my life easier. And then a big thank you to Jairo for just organizing this whole thing, getting me involved, and getting everyone else involved as well.
I didn't ask to be on set, but I was invited, and that makes me feel really good, and I wanted to do everything I could to repay them for that. So huge thank you to the people who brought me onto this, because I didn't know what I was doing, but I did. I figured it out, and it ended up working great. So just massive thank you. Thank you for the laughs. Thank you for the stupid behind the scenes photos. They're hilarious. I'll cherish them always.
I mean, I want to thank Jairo for trusting me with his child that was that script. I know he was very proud of it and very excited to shoot it, and I'm glad that he picked me to be the one to direct it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for everyone who worked on it and everyone who put in the time and effort to be there and make it happen. I'm really grateful for every opportunity that I get. And so I feel like that has helped a lot with just, my process as an actor, and I'm really grateful to everyone who worked on it. So
I would like to thank all of our donors. It wouldn't have been possible without them. I would like to thank Cale, because none of this would have happened if it weren't for Cale. I sent Cale the script. I sent an entire class the script, and Cale was the only one who read it. And he gave me actual feedback on how to make the story better. Then I'd also like to thank Meggie. Cale, Meggie, and Kai were the big four, the first people that I brought on, and they absolutely just kicked ass. And they're people I want to work with just forever. So thank you guys.